All right, what's up, guys? We are back with another podcast episode. This week will be a little bit more normal. I'm not contagious sick anymore, but as you can hear, I'm still extremely nasally because I'm still so congested. It's driving me absolutely up a wall.
Yeah, being congested is so annoying. I hate it so much. It happens to me all the time at night when I try to go to sleep.
Yeah, I can't breathe. I can't talk normal. I sound weird. This is what I sound like right now is what I imagine everyone thinks I sound like all the time when they think they're like, oh yeah, Chris's voice is really nasally. This is killing me.
This is definitely the nasally voice.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got a pretty good episode for you guys this week. We're going to be talking about the state of pickleball paddles, some foam core options coming up, the Rhombus Ripple, some PPA stuff, and then in the kitchen, I've got some stuff I want to talk about, back injuries, because as many of you know, I have some experience with that. So anyways, first thing I want to kick it off with is a question for all of you in the audience. So last week, we were talking about durability with paddles, and warranty came up a lot and in the comments. And I just want to know if you guys are happy with how warranties are currently handled in pickleball, because to me, like, people seem to have just accepted that warranties are like normal. Okay, you're going to deal with them. Your Gen 3 is going to break. It's going to core crush and you have to warranty it. There were a lot of comments that were surprisingly okay with this. And even as someone who doesn't have to warranty paddles, because obviously we review them and get them for free, the thought of warrantying is just really annoying. But I was pretty surprised how okay people were with it. So in the comments, if you could just let me know if you like the warranty system. Are you okay dealing with it? Do you just accept it because it is what it is and there is no better option? I'm just curious what everyone's thought is currently, because to me, I don't think it should be accepted as normal. Like, I'm trying to imagine, like, if you had to warranty your smartphone every 6 months.
Yeah, that would get really annoying really fast.
Yeah, like, okay, you have to have 2 phones because you're going to warranty one, and when you ship it off, it's going to take a while to come back, so you need a back. Like, that's crazy to me.
At least with the people locally here, some of my friends I talk to, when it comes to warranting, it really just depends on the company.
Yeah,
some people
sure.
don't really mind it that much. Some companies are really good about it. Like, obviously, I know Selkirk is really good at it. A lot of these American made in the USA brands are really good about it, like Engage, what's the other one? Paddletech and Selkirk. But some other brands are not the best, and it gets really annoying. I mean, I know a friend who has already warranted 3 paddles in the last 2 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah. And definitely the experience will definitely depend on the company you get. I don't know if this is still true of Selkirk, but I know in the past they would ship you a paddle and not make you ship the warranty one back until you got the other one. So at least with that one, you're not out of a paddle. I don't know if that's still the case, but that would make the warranty process a lot easier to deal with. But I know some companies, they want to receive the paddle first and then ship you one.
One really interesting thing I've learned about that's kind of annoying for some people with warranty processes, especially when a paddle's core crushed. And people who really know and are able to tell when a paddle's core crushed, whether that be by feel when playing or sound or testing it with your hand and actually trying to crunch the cells, some companies require you to send a video of it crunching. And sometimes when it's really initially starting to break, it's not making a loud, noticeable crunch, but it's definitely broken or on the way out.
Yeah.
And you don't want to continue playing with that. And so you're in a weird period where you probably can't really warranty it because it's not going to show up in a video that they want, but you don't want to keep using it because it's definitely breaking and going to be playing differently.
Yeah.
And so I know that's kind of weird. So anyone else out there, let me know if you've had a similar experience.
Yeah, for sure. So let us know down about that. But then really quick, just on some PPA stuff, we haven't covered much. I haven't felt like there's really been a lot that's been worth talking about, but there was a few things that happened at the Atlanta Slam that I thought were worth covering. First, thought it was pretty funny that Kwong signs with Sipic or Sipic, I still don't know how to say it, and then immediately ends up using a Holbrook at this tournament. But what was even funnier about it to me, and we still don't have the full story, allegedly his paddles failed testing is what I've heard, but nothing has been confirmed, so I don't really know what the whole deal there was, but that seems likely. I don't know any other reason why he would not use it unless they failed testing.
Yeah.
But what's funny to me about it is there was all these images floating around where you could see the paddle was blacked out, but you could see the butt cap wasn't blacked out, and you could clearly tell it was a Holbrook logo. I mean, it's very easy to see. And then the day after everyone saw that all over social media. The next day, the butt cap completely blacked out.
Yep.
I was like, I think it's too late. People know.
I also think it's funny that you could see it as a Holbrook by the butt cap. Then it's also just fully wrapped in the lead or the Selkirk tungsten.
Yeah.
And so it's just not confusing at all because we all know what it is. But I just thought it was funny. And then didn't he use the Cypic paddle for like the first game of the tournament or first match of the tournament? I thought I saw him use it.
Possibly. And then maybe they failed testing afterwards.
Later after that.
Yeah. I didn't see the very early rounds of the tournament. I just saw the images start popping up, and then I started paying attention. I mean, he played well with that paddle, though. That makes sense. The Armo would be in his realm of a paddle.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But I just laugh and think it's funny that he'll use anything that he's not signed by
Yeah,
when he's signed with a company.
Yeah, so that was kind of amusing. I'm sure it'll be fixed for future tournaments, but
I hope we get the full story on that at some point.
Yeah, that too. I'd love to know. And then there will be spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear them, either skip or stop right now. But I watched, I think, all of the finals yesterday. Except
Before we
one.
get to the finals, did you watch the mixed match between Kwong, Anna Bright, Kate Fahey, and Hayden Patrick?
No, I only saw highlights.
Dude, that match was wild.
The only thing I really saw besides highlights was the memes of pickleball post about how it took like 20 minutes to close the game out.
That match took forever. That was like, I think, was it game one?
Yeah.
That went to like 15-13 or something.
I think it might have been 16-14 or 17-15, something crazy.
Insane. It took forever. That was a wild match. That was a very entertaining, fun match to watch.
Yeah, the pickleball lately, a lot of the matchups have been really good to watch. Like, I mean, even some of the early rounds are pretty entertaining, and especially the ones that are a little more chirpy. I didn't.
Also,
go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't see the whole match, but again, caught highlights. Matt and Tyler, dude.
I was just about to bring that up. I was gonna say, look, I don't say this often, but props to the PPA for seeing that matchup and putting them on center court, because last time they were together, it was on grandstand, and it was the chirpiest match ever, and they put them on center this time, and it did not disappoint, because that match was so entertaining. I love watching Matt and Tyler just scream at each other.
Who even won that? Do you know?
Matt. And
Okay.
I think so. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain Matt and Riley won.
Okay.
But yeah, it was so entertaining. And it's on Memes of Pickleball, I believe, or it's somewhere you can find it. But during a point, Matt walks off the court while they're still playing and starts talking to the ref. And Riley's playing 1v2 and gets the ball back a few times, and then they end up losing the point.
Yeah.
But because Tyler screamed out during the point so loud, it was a hindrance call.
Yeah.
And just, I've never seen that before. It was so funny.
And it made sense for that to be a hindrance call too. It was not.
It was so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
So yeah, very, very entertaining. There's a lot of entertaining matches outside of the gold medal matches, but we'll move on to that now.
For sure. So yeah, watching the finals, there was quite a few of these I was pretty curious about. One, Ben was up for a Triple Crown. So I was like, okay, he hasn't done this in a while, so it'd be interesting to see if he can do that again. He did end up losing men's. They lost in 3 straight. I don't know if I saw that coming. I don't think I thought JW and CJ were going to beat him in 3 like that.
I had zero expectation of that happening. I was expecting it to be a long match, possibly go to 5, and Ben and Gabe win.
Yeah.
But, dude, CJ was just on fire. That kid couldn't miss.
Yeah, and I feel like Gabe was having a hard time. I felt like he just missed a lot of balls that I wouldn't expect him to miss, like just easy dinks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was part of it. I think they were just a little less consistent that day, but beating him in 3, I was like, they better beat him in 3, because usually if you don't beat him in 3, you lose.
Mm-hmm. But close games. The first 2, 11-9, 11-9, and then the third was
7-11, I think.
11-7, yeah.
Yeah. And then singles went to 3, Ben and Connor.
Yep.
And dude, when Ben, I thought it was like perfect way to win. Wins off a blocked ATP. And I have never seen Ben show so much emotion in my life. Like, he was amped to win. It was, what I loved about this was, one, it's good to see, I think, Ben show some emotion, because over the years, like, he's just been so dominant that it's kind of like, oh yeah, I won another tournament. But seeing him want it, I think, is good for the sport. I think it makes it easier to want to root for him when you can tell he cares. And then 2, it makes these, I know they want these slams to be a big deal, and I think they're getting closer to them feeling like a big deal, but it's not quite there yet. But I think the players having such strong reactions to winning helps make it feel like a bigger deal, right? Like if someone wins a tennis slam, you know it's a big deal, and it feels like a big deal to them. You can tell by the reaction, and the way Ben reacted, you could tell like he was pumped.
Yeah, it was good. It was good emotion. I actually enjoyed seeing that too. Especially like people have been talking about this a lot, just players with emotion in general. And lately we have not gotten the most positive emotions out of Ben. And so, which some people are okay with, some people are back and forth on. I like seeing this. I think it's good. I enjoy, Ben cares more, wants it. It seems like now he's playing with different people, with Gabe, and, is not winning as much. Looks like he's trying a little bit more. When he is doing well, he's having more fun. Yeah. Honestly, even when he was winning with Colin, it just didn't, he looked like he was a zombie. Like he wasn't even enjoying himself. Now it looks like he's laughing, smiling, he's having more fun. So it's good. I think it's good for the sport.
Yeah, and same with Anna Lee. Even she went to 3 with Kate Fahey, and she did win the 3 pretty handedly, or the 3rd pretty handedly. But like she was really fired up too. And for someone who, basically wins all the time, you're like, oh, it's refreshing to see. It's just when you win all the time, obviously it's going to be a little less exciting each time. And I think now that everyone's getting pushed and it's getting harder to just win all the time, I think getting more emotions out of all these players like that is really good. Mm-hmm. So thought that was exciting. And the last matchup, the women's matchup, it was like, I was hoping it was going to be better.
The one we've all been waiting for. Everyone wanted to see it, and we got it.
Yeah, Rachel Rohrabacher, Catherine Parento versus Anna Lee and Anna Bright. And unfortunately, it was just a blowout. It was 3 straight games. And, I hope we see more of this because I think, and I'm sure we will, I'm sure it's going to be the grudge match moving forward. But I really wanted to see like at least 4, 5 would have been ideal. But yeah,
I would have loved to see Catherine and Rachel win at least a game. Like just it would have been. I wanted them to win the whole thing, honestly, because it would have been awesome.
Yeah, it would have been a great comeback story.
Did you see any of the prior matches for Catherine and Rachel leading up to the whole tournament? Oh my gosh, it was a slaughter. They were just destroying everyone. It was like 11-1, 11-0, 11-2, 11-1. Like just absolutely destroying. I think they played the Walker sisters and it just wasn't even close.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a good team. I think that's going to be, obviously we all knew this. It's like the top 4 women in all of pickleball right now.
Yeah.
They're going to play each other every week.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it. I think that'll be exciting. So anyways, yeah, it was just fun to see some more emotion this week. I think this was a pretty good tournament. Hopefully more of the slams continue to kind of trend that direction.
Yeah.
Last little piece of news here. The court. Weather abiding, praying. I am begging the weather.
Please, Minnesota, please.
If the weather is good this week, my court will be painted. I have the net. My C&D net is waiting to go. Please, they said they could probably paint it Wednesday. I am so hopeful that they will paint it this week.
We've had too many delays.
Yeah.
It should have been done.
It could have been done last week, but we got a ton of rain.
So much rain.
And so they couldn't do it. But I texted them, and they were like, yeah, I think we can do it this next week. So I'm like, please, I'm so ready to use this court.
And then you're going to get sick again.
Probably. Thankfully, I only get sick like once a year. So this was my quota.
There's going to be some delay of some kind for some reason.
If there was any time to get sick, I'm glad it was right now before the court is painted and before all the travel.
True. We do have a lot of travel, especially you.
Yeah.
And so, get it out now.
Exactly. So I'm really pumped to do that. I think making content will be a lot easier this summer. Like first looks in particular, I think will be a lot easier to film once we can step in the backyard, film a video in an hour, and
be able to crank things out.
It'll be great. So really looking forward to that.
Yep.
Okay. So in some other news, some paddle news here. So I didn't get to hit like anything I played Saturday and I got to hit the Ripple. That's really all I focused on hitting. And so I didn't get to test much. So I don't have a lot to talk about, but I did want to let you guys know about some paddles. First, we got these new GRUVN paddles. These are not approved yet. They just submitted them. So full disclosure, these are not out yet. These are not approved yet. So just keep that in mind. But they just made solid foam core paddles. I asked them like, hey, what was different? And they were basically like, well, I could tell you, but I won't. They were like, I'm sure John's going to figure it out. But they said they did something different. They just didn't want to give it away right away. Who knows what that means? But either way, all I've done is bounce a ball on these. And there's 2. So there's the Kevlar one, the laser, and then the GRUVN, which is the carbon fiber one. Bouncing a ball on these, I should have had you bounce a ball on this before the podcast. These feel so different. And apparently the only difference is the surface layers. But to me, the Kevlar one feels so much more exciting or different, and the GRUVN one feels very generic or like almost in the realm of a 008, which is like not bad, but not really anything special. Like this one, I was like, this is going to steal the show. But that's, again, just bouncing a ball up and down. I haven't like played. Could be completely different on court.
Interesting.
But I think what's going to be great is like GRUVN historically has been a, like more of a budget brand. So let's just say these foam core paddles are $200. That'll be the cheapest foam core option right now. And I think we're going to continue to see those prices drop. So people who are interested in that technology, you may not necessarily have to spend $280 moving forward soon.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
So the GRUVN is CFC.
I actually don't think they said what the base layer is. I want to say this is just carbon fiber.
Just carbon fiber?
Yeah, and then this is I don't know I don't know if this is all Kevlar or if there's carbon fiber mixed in there, but yeah, aren't
these the same names as the previous?
I'm glad you noticed because the only thing that changed is that they added solid foam.
I noticed, there's a subtle little text box that says solid foam, but otherwise these are the same names as the previous paddle.
Yeah, they should have went for completely different names.
Well, okay.
I think they said in a note that they're considering getting rid of all their polymer ones in favor of foam ones eventually, but they were like,
Just not even selling them?
Yeah, like the old lasers.
Yeah.
And so in that context, I'm like, okay, that makes more sense, but I think in general, branding wise, it would have been better to just come up with a totally new name.
I feel like you know what? Pause moment real quick. This is just becoming a potential big pet peeve of mine in the industry.
Okay.
Like companies, please, like the names of your paddles. Like for this one, why name them the same thing? Even if you are planning on removing the old paddles.
Yeah.
But it's going to be confusing. One guy buys a new one. One guy buys an old one. They might think it's the exact same paddle.
Yeah.
And they play with them. Oh, mine feels way different than yours. Like, yeah, there's a little box that says solid foam, but I just
or at a minimum, like do something graphic wise or edge guard wise, something so you're like, this is
bigger
different.
Distinction.
Yeah.
That it's not the same makeup or materials as the other paddle. Like it's just so confusing for people. It's confusing for us. And we do this every day.
Totally. Totally. So I don't know when these are going to be out. I don't know the pricing yet, but I think there's definitely some potential for this Kevlar one and maybe even the carbon fiber
They
one.
only come in these shapes?
I think they are getting other shapes approved as well.
Okay, are these hybrids? Or are these elongated?
I think it is a hybrid.
Okay.
I'm
These
fairly
look a little short.
Yeah, fairly certain it's a hybrid.
Nice. All right, well, curious to hit those later.
Yeah, so keep an eye on those. And then the other ones, I don't have them. I think they're going to show up literally right after we finish this recording this podcast. But Honolulu has their strategy is so different from everyone else. They're literally like I don't think there's another brand in pickleball that is more of a let's just take a bunch of prototypes, throw them at the wall, and just see what people think is good, and then we're just going to make that one. Like,
love to see what their orders look like.
Dude,
what are you just like the factory gives you 10 options and you say, let me order 200 of all 10?
Yeah, right.
And, I'd love to see what that looks like.
Because they had the J2 FC, the J2 FC Plus, and I was like, okay, I'm going to wait to hit these to see if these even get approved. Because it's like, I don't want to spend time on something that I don't know is going to be approved. And now they have these new versions coming out, which I forgot to write the names down, but their naming scheme is getting even more and more confusing.
Somebody told me that they were like, oh yeah, Honolulu Pickleball's naming scheme is great. And I was like, excuse me?
Not with the new ones, at least. I want to say it's like J2 NFK, J2 NFL.
I haven't seen that.
And J2 something, some other 3-letter acronym that I'm blanking on. So these are the ones that are coming today. They will be a 16 millimeter EPP foam core in the center, and then it's floating with some type of EVA foam perimeter. I don't know if that's all the way around. They say floating / pivoting. I don't know if that's slightly different from what's been done before. So I don't know the exact details of like what that's going to look like internally, but that's the note they gave. So I'm very curious to hit those and see. But again, just like the GRUVN, I think Honolulu's got a great track record of having affordable paddles. So those sound like they could be very promising and at a cheaper price. So I think paddles like the True Foam and Blue Core and 008 are about to have some like very stiff competition.
It's going to get tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be as cut and dry.
We haven't seen anything, in my opinion, as good as the True Foams for a cheaper price yet.
Agree.
And I think it's going to be tough to beat that performance at a lower price, but it's not impossible. It's not out of the realm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even just bouncing that GRUVN, I was like, oh, I like how this feels. So like that's like potentially in the realm.
okay.
So we'll kind of see.
Speaking of, real quick, just another, not necessarily pet peeve, but I just think this is funny story because we're talking about Honolulu. A friend of mine recently was asking me about paddles, and I think Honolulu got brought up, and I needed to pull up their website and go there to look at, like, refresh myself on a paddle. And I open it up and I start scrolling and scrolling, and the website, oh my gosh, the amount of paddles and different paddles went on forever. It was just one page of scroll, and it just never ended. I was like, how many paddles are on this website?
Yeah, I think if I had to guess, Honolulu's due for a condensing. Like, there's just too many.
Hit the purge button.
I was literally just listening to a podcast the other day. I can't even remember what the podcast was about. I don't know, probably some podcast I usually listen to. It wasn't a pickleball one, but one of the things they were talking about was either it was a true story. I want to say it was a true story, but basically they were talking about this. Wait, was it a? Oh, I think it wasn't pickleball podcast. I think it was Brian building pickleball. It was the Selkirk podcast. But the Selkirk guys were telling this story about like this jam shop that had like 1 million options. Like they had everything you could imagine, and their sales like exponentially went up when they went down to like 4 different kinds instead of like overwhelming people with so many. And that's kind of where I feel like Honolulu is right now. Is like they have some really big home runs. Like the J2K was really big. J2TI was reasonably popular, but like they've got a few home runs. It's like, let's just condense.
There's a fine balance though, right? Like, you know, you can't only have like 2 paddles all elongated and not have any variants, but then also having 30 different variants of paddles that all look the same with slightly different like naming schemes. People are going to go to that website and be like, I do this for a living, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So for people who don't, you know, just hobbyists, they're going to look at that and be very confused. So yeah, there's definitely a balance, but I think they're due for a purge.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about the Ripple really quick. So
yes, the new one.
You've been playing with it while I was sick, and then I've already played with it before, and then I played with it again this weekend, and sounded like we had some overlapping thoughts that we thought would be good to go over. And I don't think, if I had to guess, we're probably going to be in the minority in this, and I think it's probably going to be an unpopular opinion. And I want to like preface this with, one, this is not a full review. This is like, I've had a couple sessions with this, and a lot of times I don't share my really, really early thoughts because I wait until I've like hit a lot of things side by side and I have like really good comparisons. Like, so what you guys are about to hear is like the internal dialogue when I'm testing paddles. And this is where I'm at with the Ripple so far in my testing. I just don't like it. It's not that it is a terrible paddle. I think a lot of people are going to love this. I think it's going to be a popular paddle. But when I benchmark it against the old Ripple, I think there are some very severe downgrades in a lot of ways. But that's not a fully perfect comparison because that paddle ended up not being legal, right? It's like, okay, you're comparing an illegal paddle to one that's legal. So in terms of that, if you're really familiar with how that old one felt and you loved it, I think there's some notable downgrades. But even if we talk about like the legal realm of paddles, if I compare it to all its competition, if I go up against a Flamingo, I go up against a Pro 4, a Paddle Tech, an Engage, a True Foam, like all these different paddles, it potentially is my least favorite one in that whole list of paddles I just listed. In my early thoughts so far, like the spin is a lot worse than what it was before. And I think the power is there. I think it's top of the top power. It's either right at the level of a Pro 4. Maybe it's a little bit more. It probably depends on how broken in a Pro 4 is or how broken in a Ripple is, like which one's actually going to be on top if we're being realistic about it.
I haven't even really seen if these ones break in.
Exactly. So we don't know yet. But the power level that it has, the frustration I think I've really been noticing is that it's like I don't have enough, I can't shape the ball to like use the power. So like, okay, cool, I have all this pop and power, but like I don't feel like I can keep my drives in as well or my rolls in And one of the big frustrations I had this weekend playing with it was dinking. Like the way the ball would feel coming off the face or shaping it, like I was just so frustrated with a lot of the shots I would hit. I was just like, it's not doing what I want it to do. So I don't know what some of your frustrations have been, but I think that has been one of my biggest ones. Like even taking weight out of the equation, swing weight, whatever, the R4 is mostly fine. Like that's just been killing me.
Yeah. The R1, right? That one is definitely heavier, and I notice it. And this is now coming from me, of all people. It is not too heavy, but it's heavy enough for me to, it's noticeable and to the point where I'm not a huge fan. And I don't know exactly why yet. I'm going to have to play more with it. And I even messed around with some different weight setups and putting weight in different areas, and I haven't found a weight setup that I can put on it to get me to enjoy it. I'm in a very similar realm as you right now with how I feel about this paddle. I'm confused. I can't really shape it as well. It feels much stiffer, which makes sense. They had to stiffen it up to make it legal.
Yeah. And
I'm not a huge fan of that. I feel like the power is really inconsistent for me, and I'm struggling to connect with the ball. And
yeah,
I can't get the ball to go where I want, which I have not really had with other paddles. I don't know why or how to explain it, but just drives in certain shots and even drops feel really inconsistent to me. Yeah. And then the only thing that I do like, I will say, it's still great with volleys. Like when I hit a volley, the ball's gone. Like it still hits quite hard, but the sweet spot definitely feels like it's shrunk quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. And which is really interesting.
It is very interesting. It's hard for me to connect and find the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Previously, I felt like I could hit anywhere on the old Ripple, and it was just
the old Ripple felt massive.
One of the biggest sweet spots.
I literally thought it was one of the best sweet spots. I mean, it's such a like polarizing difference from all the Ripples we had hit previously. Every single one we got before it was like, yeah, this is really good. This is really good. Like this is everything about this paddle is so good. And then this one is the first one where we're like,
it's massively different.
Yeah.
It's just so different in feeling that I almost don't even want to call it a Ripple play wise. And yeah, I disappointed might not quite be the right word, but just, I wasn't expecting it to play like this, and I haven't been enjoying it much. I'm going to mess around with it more. I think I just need to maybe change some things around. But so far, I haven't been super thrilled with playing with it. There's going to be people who like it, for sure.
100%. I think one thing, like, and this is why I tried to preface this at the beginning, is I'm prefacing this with, I'm talking about this right now more from the perspective of purely myself and my play style and less of, like, the reviewer mode where I'm like, okay, who does this fit? What would they like? Like, obviously, I'm going to do that when I do the full review. But I'm giving you just, like, my thoughts as a player right now and how I feel about it, and less of, like, okay, this group would like this thing and this group would not. This is more just about myself.
Yeah. Yep. I really wanted, going into it, I wanted to like it.
Well, both of us loved the old one.
We both.
You thought about switching, like if it was going to be legal.
If it was going to be legal, I was going to switch to the Ripple, 100%.
Yeah.
But now there's no way I could switch to this pedal. I don't play nearly as well with this one, or consistent at all.
Yeah, I think consistency, like I think that's a really good word for it, because there's just a lot of times where, one, I didn't get the power I expected. Like when I was hitting serves, I was like, I feel like I should be able to hit this harder than I am right now. And then sometimes I'm going to drive, I'm like, oh wow, that really went. And then other times I'm like, oh, like that volley like didn't do anything for me, or like that put away ball. And I don't know if that's just because the swing weights are higher. Maybe I can't swing as quick as the old one, or what it is. And maybe with the sweet spot shrinking, like the ability to get power out of it is maybe different, since the carbon fiber stringers in the middle, since those are like beefed up now, I wonder if you have to hit more in that zone to get the power out of it, where before I think they were all the same. So maybe it was easier to get power from different spots on the face, and now maybe you're restricted to a slightly tighter box, because that's what it feels like to me. I feel like if I don't hit it in a certain window, I'm like, oh, that was not great.
That's a good way of saying it. I definitely think the sweet spot zone has been shifted down, especially on the R1, into just a different area. And I'm so used to hitting in a higher area of the paddle that it just doesn't feel as good. Or maybe, when I connect lower, it feels better. And it's been a little bit unpleasant.
Yeah. Me. I think the change in feel, like it still has a similar Ripple feel. Like if you know what an old Ripple felt like and you hit this one, you would still go, yeah, this is like in the Ripple family. But I think because of it feeling stiffer is probably the best word. It's like the word that I keep coming back to is like tingy. I'm like, just like the way it feels. Like I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's like not the most as pleasant as the old one. Like the old Ripple, loved how it sounded, loved how it felt. Like it was just like an all around like very pleasant experience. This one, it's just a little more like jarring or things about it that are not nearly as fun. Like I can tell when unless this breaks in and changes quite a bit, I will be, for myself, happy to put this paddle down and be done reviewing it.
Yeah, I'm the same way where I like I said, I really wanted to like it. I really like the old Ripple. I was excited to hit this, and now I haven't been able to play more than a game with it where I'm like, can I just go to my bag and grab something else?
Yeah.
Like I'm constantly finding any other paddle that I have to test or play with, and I have a tournament coming up, so I've been playing with my main paddles. Like I just want to hit other things.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been fun to play with.
Yeah, for sure. So keep it in mind, these are, some early impressions, guys. It's not a final review. Things may change as we hit them more leading up to the full review, but that's kind of how we're feeling right now. Like I said, probably going to be the unpopular opinion. I think there's going to be plenty of people who still love these paddles. I know there's a lot of people who are other reviewers that are loving them right now. And I think that's fine. Like, I don't think it's an awful paddle, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as it was before.
Oh yeah. If someone came to me and said, oh man, I love this paddle, it's great, I wouldn't be like, really?
Yeah, I nothing
totally
like that.
understand why they like it. I still think it's good, but just for me and how I play currently, it let me down a little bit.
For sure. And one other thing I want to is an interesting comparison. So I think there's going to be a big debate about like, does the Pro 4 hit harder or does the Ripple hit harder? And I think one thing people are going to have to really think about when making that comparison is if you match the swing weights of these paddles, that I think would make a big difference. For example, I think the Pro 4 Antibrite Scorpius, the 14 millimeter, comes in around like a 108, 110 swing weight. Well, if you bump that thing up to a 117, 118 swing weight like the R2, that's an almost 10-point bump is a very drastic bump. So if you put those in the same realm, there's a very good chance that the power is now going to be equivalent. So like it wouldn't be a fully fair comparison to be like, oh, let's compare the really light paddle to the one that's way heavier. Like, yeah, the heavier one is probably going to plow through the ball more and hit harder. So I think for all of these, if we took a Perseus or a Hyperion for the R1 and we matched swing weights, we bumped it up 10 points. Like the Pro 4s may hit harder or be even more equivalent with the Ripples if you match swing weights. So I think that's something people should keep in mind. Like if your ability to tolerate the higher swing weights on the Ripples is there, you should probably be able to do the same thing on the Pro 4.
And I'd say this is comparing the 14 of the Yolas. I think the 16 for me does hit harder, which makes sense. I mean, they are a little bit heavier, not as heavy as the Ripples, but even so, I think the 16s get a little bit more top end power
than the Ripple.
Than the Ripple.
I see.
Yeah.
I'll have to hit more to compare. But I mean, I thought the 16s hit pretty hard. So.
Yep.
And then the last few things I want to talk about with the Ripple. One, break-in, still not determined. And then a thing that the Ripple does have going for it that I think will be nice is a lot of the expensive power paddles right now don't do discount codes. Paddletech doesn't. Yola doesn't. Proton, like maybe occasionally you can find one floating around. So $260 after code for the Ripple, I think that helps it. Makes it a little bit cheaper, makes it a little bit easier to digest, so that'll help. And then the last thing that I don't know if this has bothered you, I wouldn't say it like kills it for me, but like I think about it more than most paddles, is they definitely used a squishier foam pallet on the handle, and it's like annoying that like when I really tighten my grip, I can kind of like feel my hands sinking in.
Yep.
And I would say the vast majority of foam handles out there are fine. Like, yeah, I can feel a little bit of squish, but this one's almost like more memory foam where when I squish, I'm like, my hand is like moving, where on other foam ones, it doesn't move that much.
It's not as soft as like that Volair paddle. That one's by far the most egregious and worst foam handle, squishy paddle. But I do know, I don't like it. You told me when I held it, you told me there was like a feature.
Oh, right? I don't know that I'd call it a feature.
Oh, I thought you said that it was like intentional.
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea.
Maybe I'm, making that up. But if it's not, why? I hate it so much. Anytime, even with the regular foam pallet handles, they're not super squishy, but it's just enough to be really annoying. Like, just everyone use the hard pallets. They're just so much better. I don't know why still using foam handles.
I just don't know why we're going softer.
Yeah, why we're going the opposite direction of what everyone wants.
And like, of all the things I want to be clear, of all the things to like complain about, this is on like the very like low end of things, but
100%.
It's still just like, it's again, a decision for an expensive paddle that like, I don't really understand. I also don't understand why the carbon true foams have such bad handles. Like at that price point, it just doesn't make sense. So
it's all these really expensive paddles too. And yes, like people do say this, what you just said, it's a very small, bottom of the list, nitpicky point. But if you're going to spend nearly $300 for a paddle, you should be able to complain about the small nitpicky things because you're paying the highest most premium price for anything in our sport. Like, yeah, you should be able to complain about the small things if you're going to buy a premium product.
Yeah.
So the handle, it does matter.
Yep.
And we're going the wrong direction here with these. I'm not a fan.
For sure. Agree. So anyways, those are our thoughts on the Ripple. We're going to move on to the state of pickleball paddles in 2025. Mm-hmm. So we've just got a list of things I kind of wanted to go over. I may have missed some, but I think we cover a pretty good list here. So first, we're going to talk about power. So power last year was obviously problematic before testing kind of came in and started helping fix things. Testing itself is still like kind of in a slight limbo area, but it seems to be better. People are understanding the test better. What's your view of like where power is right now? Because my view is that it's definitely better than last year. I don't see people being as concerned with eyewear as they were a year ago when like the Gen 3s were coming in and it was like, dude, I remember quite a few friends going and buying eyewear. I even feel a little more comfortable now without it. So I feel like the power is in a pretty good stage. Could we maybe go down like one more tick? Sure. But if we peaked right where we're at right now, I'm like, I don't have a big problem with it.
Yeah, I don't think I really have any issues with power right now. I feel like, especially now that we're using the Lifetime ball, a lot of Franklin's, our big local tournament coming up in a week is using Franklin's. I really don't have an issue with it. It doesn't feel that bad. People aren't getting bagged from the baseline like when the Gen 3s came out and the original Ripple and all this stuff. I haven't noticed any time where I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is hitting just way too hard because of his paddle. Yep. I think now it's becoming, I'm playing people who hit hard and I go, this guy has a really good forehand and his technique is really good, and that's why he's just ripping the ball. Like, I've played against some friends of mine recently that are tennis players. These have really big forehands because they come from tennis and they hit the ball hard and they have good technique. And the paddle, like, they are playing with a Paddle Tech or a Pro 4, but it's not that crazy. I have no issues with where the power's at, honestly.
Yeah, I think we're in a pretty healthy stage overall. I think some of the pros have talked about, like, a little bit lower would maybe even be nicer. But I think from the amateur perspective, I don't hear people complaining nearly as much as I did a year ago. And some of that, I'm sure people have accepted the fact that here's where the game is, so they've adjusted and like their game has gotten a little bit better and improved for it. But then the other half of it is taking paddles out like the Gearbox and the Mod that were just felt like you couldn't do anything against. And the fact that core crushing has gone down more and more, and I think people are more aware that they need to replace their paddle when that happens, that we're seeing less of those complaints because people are just like, okay, it's time for me to go get a new paddle.
Yeah, and I'd like to touch on that more later, but we'll finish this up real quick. And one thing I'll say, I think part of it is actually we're just getting used to this power. We've been dealing with it for so long that now we've just gotten so used to it. And when we did play with Franklin's at the US Open in the heat and any times I play with Franklin, it's so much slower that I'm like, this is what it used to be like. Holy cow, this is so slow. And I've just gotten so used to a faster game that I just don't think it bothers me as much anymore, which we kind of did predict a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, you put an old Gen 3 in someone's hand or a Mod, it's still a problem and it's still annoying. So let's keep it at least like right where we're at or lower. Yeah. And we're good.
Yeah, totally. I don't think we need to go back or anything like that. But I do think, people probably playing with some of the slower balls like a Franklin has helped mitigate that as like okay, well, the paddles are hot. Let's just play with a slower ball.
Yep.
All right. So that's kind of power. I feel like it's in a in a better stage, maybe a little bit more tweaking, but I think it's largely okay right now. Next up, we have spin. So spin, I don't think anything's really changed. The only observation I kind of thought of the other day is that if anything, I actually think spin has gone down a little bit. So
Fed disagrees.
Wow, we'll see. They also have a different set of rules that they get to play by than us. So what's interesting is that, so obviously last year when the Gen 3s came out, wildly illegal grit. I mean, stick to your shirt, so illegal grit. And then to go into full compliance when the mod came out, very smooth grit. Like, you know, kind of like how the old double black diamonds were. Like, it's very smooth. It's not that rough. And I've started to notice more and more of the top brands, their paddles are like that. So Selkirk's been like that for a while, but they've always been like a rule follower, which is fine. The carbons are not that rough. Paddle Tech, of the ones we're talking about right now, is probably on the rougher side. Like, it to the touch, it feels a little bit rougher, but nothing crazy.
All the Paddle Techs I've seen are pretty not smooth, but not
like rougher than a Yola.
I don't even know if I'd say that. Like maybe a teeny bit, but not much. And then now, you know, Pro XR is the same. Pro XR used to be one that was like, this is super gritty.
Yeah.
And now they're not.
It's about the same.
It's about the same. I mean, they're owned by Paddle Tech. They're made in the same.
Well, they technically own Paddle Tech.
Or well, they own Paddle Tech. Yeah. So they don't seem that crazy anymore.
So I've noticed a lot of those top brands are more in that realm, probably because, you know, it's being monitored a little bit more and people don't want controversy. But I do still see smaller brands where batches either are definitely out of spec. I mean, I'll still see stuff of paddle sticking to people's shirt. Look, if your paddle sticks to your shirt, I can almost promise you with a reasonably high degree of certainty under the current rules that paddle would not be legal.
Yes.
Like, those are really rough.
Don't get me wrong. I'm still seeing variance in the market with paddles.
100%.
Like, there's definitely grittier paddles and smoother paddles. I actually had a buddy of mine text me earlier this week, literally like 2 days ago, and he's asking me about the Agassi, and he had two demos, a 14 and a 16, and he said the 16 was noticeably smoother than the 14.
Yep.
And like a big difference. And I thought maybe the 14 was the UPA certified only one, and the other one was dual certified. Nope, both dual certified. This 14 was just much grittier.
Yeah.
So there's still variance in the market, but everything has dropped a step down from what it used to be.
Yeah, I feel like it was easier to find rougher paddles, and now I still get some paddles in that I'm like, I don't know about the legality of that one.
I'm trying to look at the wall right now and think about what paddles, like what brands consistently have really gritty paddles. I
don't really know if there's any that are like really consistentely rough. It's
Neonic
almost like,
has really gritty paddles.
That gold one on the wall is stupid gritty.
That one's stupid. The Technofibers, those are really gritty.
Yeah. I can't wait for the spin test to come into play so we can just stop talking about surface roughness. And we're going to get to this. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later. But like, it would just be so nice to not have to talk about surface roughness because it's already been known to not be a great metric. It's not consistent. The industry can't keep it consistent.
If we can find a way to because obviously peel ply, there's going to be so much variance in manufacturing that it will never be super consistent. We've maxed out, I think, where we're going to get in terms of spin capability with legal limits for peel ply, but then it degrades and there's inconsistencies. Like, hit a point where we just have everything is all the same and we don't have to think about it or talk about it anymore.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, it'll be interesting. I know it'll be interesting to see, like, as Selkirk puts Infinigrit on more paddles. So I feel like with the 007, it really never got put to the test because everyone hated that paddle so much.
No one wanted to play with it.
No one wanted to play with it for like 4 months because everyone's like, I hate this paddle. So when it's finally put on a paddle that's like good, it'll be interesting to see how it holds up in the market because the claims and the testing we saw at the lab were very impressive. Like seeing everything under the microscope, seeing the tests they were doing and how much longer it was lasting than raw carbon. I see how they came to the conclusion of their claim. So now I want to see it in the real world and see how it holds up. But again, just no one wanted to play with the 007. So spin is interesting. I just think top end paddles have gotten smoother and then there's still some variance as you kind of go down the branches of brands, but that's kind of always how it's been.
But now it's all within a legal limit. Sort of.
There's definitely still some brands pushing it.
Oh yeah.
Whether intentionally or not, I don't know.
But it's better than what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next up, durability. So I think this has been a hot topic for years.
This is the one I wanted to get to.
Okay, perfect. So first, I would say Gen 3's style paddles, obviously better than last year. They're not breaking down as quickly, but it's still, I think if you're going to buy a Gen 3 paddle, you 100% have to go in with the expectation that this paddle will break. You just don't know how quick. Like, I don't think you can go buy a Gen 3 paddle and go, yes, this paddle is going to last me a really long time.
And it's with these especially, the only thing we can say now is exactly what you said. It's going to break at some point, just don't know how long, because it depends and varies so much, so heavily on the style of player you are. Like,
well, and even the brand and their
and the brand. But like, they've gotten better in durability, but they're still going to break in terms of like, I'm going to break one faster than you are.
Yeah.
I hit more drives, overheads are harder. Like, just I hit certain shots so much harder that like, you're not going to break one as fast as me, but eventually you will. It will break at some point. And I know two people, especially, that I know a couple others that have broken some paddles recently, Gen 3 paddles recently, but two that come immediately to mind that have broken 311 624 Power Series paddles.
Yeah.
One of them broke 2 Vapors within a couple months, and he's on his 3rd warranty now. Or I guess 2nd warranty, 3rd paddle.
Yep.
And the other one broke a Pegasus. He doesn't hit as hard as the other guy.
And he's been using his for probably about 3 months.
He had been using his for a while now. Yeah, it's probably about 3 months, but it still broke.
Yep.
So they're gonna break.
Yeah.
Like, it's inevitable, but just how fast? One guy took about 3 months. One took, a month to paddle.
And both of these are 5.0 plus, 5.25 plus guys.
Yeah. Yep. Both actually people I partner with.
Yeah. So it's, that level is going to be different. I talked about this last week. That's going to be different than a 4.0 that's playing. Like the 4.0, that paddle might last 6 months, 9 months, like maybe even a year if they're not sick of the grip. But like, I just think it is well established in the current state of the market that if you buy a Gen 3 paddle, don't go in expecting that it's going to be so durable.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, I mean, we've seen this since thermoforming. Every time a company comes out and says, we fixed it, we solved it, we've got it, we nailed it, these aren't going to break. They break.
In your mind, you just, knowing yourself as a player, you got to put an expiration date on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to happen. And even though more and more people are starting to understand what core crushing is and how to, diagnose it, I guess, or just realize their paddle's breaking, a massive amount of the player base still does not understand or know what core crushing or
totally
paddles breaking is. A friend of mine told me a story recently from out of state that they went to a facility and this girl was playing with a mod, and I think someone at the facility was talking about core crushing paddles, and my friend was like, yeah, your mod is definitely broken. She's like, well, I had no clue. And then sure enough, it was crunching, and she had absolutely no clue. She just didn't even know. So there's still a massive amount of the market and people that just don't even know what it means.
Yep, for sure. And then, as far as Gen 2 goes, I would say it's the most stable it's ever been. Their core crushing significantly slower, but just like a Gen 3, it will break eventually, but I would say it's even slower than the Gen 3s are.
It's been a long time since I've core crushed a Gen 2 paddle.
Yeah, actually, I haven't heard you core crush a Shogun in a while. The reason you've swapped them out has not been because of core crushing.
Grit. Yeah, it's core crushing. I haven't core crushed one since the first 1 or 2 they sent me.
Yeah,
and otherwise I haven't dealt with core crushing with those at all. So
well, that's actually pretty good.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to vary from brand to brand. Sometimes you get unlucky, but I do think Gen 2s are in a pretty stable spot. But if you're buying one, just expect that it's a possibility. Like, it's not going to be like a Paddle Tech where that isn't really an issue. Paddle Techs have their own issue with potentially just going dead over time, or maybe the handle snaps, but
certain brands are better than the others.
Yeah, it all just depends. Like, there's pros and cons to all types of builds.
Yep.
But the big enhancement we have seen this year is the introduction of these foam cores. So, we've got True Foam, we've got 008, Blue Core, GRUVN, Honolulu, and I'm sure by the end of this year, we will see a lot of brands have a foam core option of some kind.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to be next.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure pretty much every brand on that wall is working on one.
100%.
And they're all testing.
We're gonna see a full foam core prototype from ProXR within the next I imagine 6 months,
if they don't already have it.
That too.
So I think this has been a good introduction, and so far, I mean, I guess really it's only been the True Foam and the 008 because the blue core's not out yet, and the other ones are kind of prototypes floating
When
around.
do those get released?
What, 008?
No, blue core.
They're releasing like in the next week, I think.
For some reason in my mind, I thought those were already released.
It actually might even be today.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause we've been talking about those for so long now that
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the introduction of foam cores has been good. I think the durability has held up well. Are they perfect? No. Like there will never, in my opinion, there's never going to be any type of build that where 100% of people never have an issue of some kind, right? Like I don't think that's what we're aiming for. It's more just like how often do these issues happen?
Well, every different construction and build is going to have pros and cons, right? There's benefits to full foam cores and there's benefits to thermoform paddles. Even though I like some of these full foam cores, I still main and play with a Gen 2.
Yeah.
And there are benefits to that, a Gen 2 paddle that at the moment, full foam cores can't give me. So there's all trade-offs.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's been a great introduction. I think durability has been pretty solid. I mean, my True Foam has got like 6 months on it now, and it's still rock solid, which I love. Though I said this in my follow-up video, even though I can get paddles for free, the principle of like, I don't want to have to swap them out. Like, yeah, cool. I have the privilege of getting paddles for free, but like, I don't want to abuse that or have to use that. Like, cool. If I could get a new paddle every week, like that just doesn't feel great to recommend. Like, oh yeah, it breaks all the time, but cool. I get them for free. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Totally. Now I've been extremely impressed with the durability of the True Foam. Out of anything we've seen in who knows how long, that's by far been the most durable paddle of anything I've seen.
Yeah. And I think that is still performant. Like, you know, you could like build a probably durable paddle, but it just might suck.
Well, like Power Airs last a long time, but the grit durability goes away. It's gone immediately. So it might not be broken, but it's worse. Yeah, exactly. But we'll see with Infinigrit.
So yeah, those have been some of the interesting notes on durability. This will kind of bleed into some other stuff, but I think now that we've got the foam cores like kind of figured out, I'd love to see some more focus on surface textures, or maybe this is where reload starts coming in handy. Like if they had their own foam core option that you could just keep reloading the grit.
Well, see, I don't know. That combo, I don't think will be
the weight would be really tricky.
With the weight of foam cores and then the weight of the reload surface, like you're just asking for a 145 swing weight paddle in the making.
Yeah, I think that's where that would get tricky. But the other thing, I would love to see that, but I feel like what happened with the launch of Reload is I think they don't like the idea of grit wearing out. They want their grit to last longer. But at least in the people that consume like this podcast, there's also the other truth that is people just like and want to try the new thing, which is totally fine. I love trying all the new stuff. But I think that makes a reloadable surface for one brand less appealing. Like basically it has to be an industry-wide adopted thing for people to be really pumped about it because, okay, let's say Reload makes a foam core and they can reload the surface. That is like a dream come true. Your core is probably not really going to break and you can replace the grit whenever you want. Well, if someone like Honolulu comes out with a floating foam core type of thing, people are going to go, oh, well, that might feel a lot better or play really different. I'm really curious about trying that now. So cool, you can reload your surface over here, but they're really excited about that new thing. So I think until it's an industry-wide thing, it's going to be really hard to get people excited about it because they're just like trying new technology.
I wonder if it would have popped off more if it was licensed out to more like brands instead of them making their own cores and paddles.
Yeah.
And just they solely focused on the reloadable surface and swapping that out, and just that was their entire niche and brand, and they just sold that to other companies. Obviously, I know they talked about it, and not every company wants that, and they want to sell their paddles and this and that, but I think it would have been more successful if they could have found a way to do that and work with more brands.
Yeah, I just really think for it to hit mass adoption, it's got to be an industry-wide thing. It can't be stuck with one brand. For example, like I remember a brand that I haven't heard anything from a long time, but Grip, GRYP.
Oh, yeah.
They had done the butt cap thing, and it's like, okay, well, this butt cap's actually pretty cool. I like the concept of this, but like, I'm probably not going to buy that paddle just for the butt. Like, if every paddle did that, that's awesome. I love it. But just this one, and I'm stuck with this style paddle, that's less cool to me.
Yep.
But if every paddle could do it,
cool, convenient technology, but at the same time, I could play with something else that I like, and I know I like the feel of, and I can just slap some lead on the bottom, or
Exactly.
there's flick weights, or
Yep.
there's slice caps, and there's other options. So being stuck with one core and one paddle for one small cool technology thing, I don't think is exciting enough for people at the moment.
Agreed. So yeah, that's durability. Next, I want to move on to price. So I think one thing the whole industry was very afraid of, specifically the brands, was the tariffs. So those have been paused for 90 days. Who knows where those are going to be? That could change on a dime. Not even going to try and speculate on that. But
Yeah.
that was something everyone was afraid of. And so far, we haven't really seen it impact pricing much. Maybe here and there, like some discount codes went down or something like that. But largely, paddle prices have remained the same, which is good. And then the high-priced options at the moment are basically all power paddles or foam core options since they're new. So anytime there's
And a Lux.
And a Lux. Yeah. Actually, I think the Lux comes out tomorrow, and that'll be 280.
280.
So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's all these foam cores and power paddle options. So if you're looking for power, you're going to pay a premium for it. That has started to come down. The 11624 powers have been good for that.
Yep.
Even the Franklin C45 is not in the 280 realm, and it's reasonably powerful. So they exist, but largely that's where the premium's placed right now. And, everyone is loving to hug that 280 price point right now.
Everyone, obviously, every company wants to push it as high as they can. If they think they have some kind of new cool technology, they're going to push it as close to 250, 260, 280, as close as they can.
And it's funny to see this evolve, because I remember when it was like 200 was the big price point. Then it was like 220. Then it was 250.
Oh, the first time we saw a 250 was crazy.
And then it was like 260 sometimes, 270, and now we're at 280. I'm like, okay, when are we going to start consistently hitting 300? I mean, we are 300 if you factor in tax and shipping and
or labs.
Labs. I mean, but like consistently, like when are all the brands
all the rest of the market.
Yeah.
That would be oof.
Yeah, I don't want to see that.
It's gonna be really hard. I mean, it's already hard to market or to recommend some of these really expensive paddles, but at least there's not enough options under it to not recommend some of these expensive paddles.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's where I think the foam core options are going to get really stiff this year, is like as you have brands like GRUVN and kind of driving the price down with the technology. I mean, even just look at, actually I can get to it now because it's kind of in this area, but like if you look at a brand like Friday, like they're bringing like the Gen 3 Yola type of technology into a $100 paddle. Like it always trickles down. It's more just like how long does it take to get there. So I think that's always a benefit, is like if you want to be an early adopter and you want to get on that train, you're going to pay a premium. But if you wait 6 months, 10 months, usually it's come down in other paddles. And maybe sometimes it even performs better.
Yeah.
At the
we don't know the price of the GRUVNs yet, do we?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Got it.
I just anticipate that it'd be a little bit cheaper. And then as far as the budget paddles, there's not really been a lot of movement in this category. I mean, it makes sense with the tariff news. No one's going to try and really announce a $100 paddle, though there is one. I'm going to get to that in just a second, actually. But in my opinion, the leaders in the budget category right now, still Friday, still Vatic, and still 11624. Those three, I think, are the top. Like, if you're looking for a really solid brand, reliable, trustworthy, the paddle's good, $100, those three, you buy one of those, you're good.
Yeah, I just recommended somebody buy a Vatic the other day. They were asking about paddles, and they were in that $100, $150 range, and I said Vatic.
Yeah,
great options.
It's just hard to not recommend. They're just, even though they're older, they're just fine. Like
they're still good.
Yeah,
they're great paddles still at a good price. Yeah, I still like them.
In fact, it's probably one of the most impressive like longevity life of like for the Vatic, the Prism. It's been around for a minute now, like 2 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good.
How much are the Sagas? I don't remember off the top of my head.
They're 129 right
129? Yeah. See, like the Saga is such a good paddle.
Yeah.
And it comes in, and the other thing is like they come in so many different shape options. Yeah. It's so hard not to recommend that as like a first performance paddle.
Yeah.
Hard not to.
Totally. And then the one I was going to mention, so it's not out yet, and I think it's coming out soon, but Ace is coming out with a paddle called the Ace 1, and it's a Gen 2 thermoformed paddle for $40. So that might shake things up a little bit. That could potentially be very interesting. $40 is extreme. I don't even know how they're making money on that.
I was going to say, I don't know how that's possible.
I mean, at that point, it's like a loss leader. I feel like it has to be. There's just...
Yeah.
But I haven't hit that one yet, but when I get to hit it, you could get 2 of those for the price of some of these other ones. So potentially that is an interesting option. We'll see if it remains that way.
$40 is crazy.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
Also, I don't know why this popped in my head, but is QDEF still around?
Yeah,
They
but
still
they
making
haven't done
anything?
anything in a while.
They haven't made anything in a long time.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're
Yeah,
just
sorry.
kinda
That's just a
chilling.
random thought that popped into my head.
totally. Okay, so I think we've been going for a while, so I'm going to try and cruise through some of these a little bit quicker. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about Control now, because Control, I think, it's not that it's been neglected. I actually think there have been paddles that have tried to introduce Control again, but Control is like it's such an interesting spot in the market because Control paddles have existed for a very long time. There are good Control paddles for $100, 11624 Vatic, great Control paddles for that price. So what are you going to do to reinvent the wheel for Control and still try and charge more money? In recent times, the paddles I can think that tried to do this were the 16 millimeter 008 and the Blue Cores. Those are both basically Control paddles, or some of the Blue Cores, not all of them, like the 19 millimeter ones. Control paddles at $280. And what I think is so tough about that is, okay, cool, your core is more durable. Your grit still isn't more durable. So am I going to pay you $280 for that Control paddle when I could go buy 3 Vatic Prisms, 3 11624 Jelly Beans, and now I have 3 times fresh grit? So I get the spin and I get the longevity, and those style of paddles aren't Gen 2, so they're not known for core crushing and having those issues. So like Control paddles haven't really had durability issues. So like the sell of a Control foam paddle is a way harder sell in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just think Control paddles right now have to be cheaper because there's so many good options cheaper.
Yeah, there's too many options that compete in the same category for half the price or less.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you buy a $280 Lux? I mean, they have the selling point of Infinigrit. If that does end up being extremely durable, then that's great. But even still, you can almost buy 3 Vatic Prisms for the price of a Lux.
Yeah.
It's like, that's tough. That's really tough.
Yep. And I mean, if you look at some of the cheaper options, like you've got the Vatic Prism, you've got the Jelly Bean, you've got the 6-0 Quartz. I mean, that one's kind of iffy. Like, probably wouldn't be top of my list to recommend, but it's a cheap Control paddle.
Yep.
That's okay. Halos even. And then if you wanted to go like non-cheap options for Control paddles that have existed, the Valère Mach 2 Forza, I still think that is probably, in my opinion, one of the best Control paddles you could buy. The 16. You've got the Core Shapeshifters, the current Selkirk Lux. I know a lot of people love that. Like there are so many options for Control paddles that I just think it's hard to like reinvent the wheel on a Control paddle, where right now people are finding ways to reinvent the wheel on power.
Well,
and
yeah,
feel.
they're just, everyone's trying to bring Control to power paddles because
Yeah.
we've had power paddles, but Control has been a struggle with those. So now it's just adding Control to power paddles, and that's why they're expensive.
Yep.
But you really can't do much to pure Control paddles to bring up that price.
Yeah, I just
or
think
make
the
them
options
interesting.
are good already.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you wanted to, you know, take a, like, let's say you had like a Mach 2 Forza and you just had grit that literally never wore down. Like, yeah, cool. That would be compelling, probably.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And maybe we're missing something. Maybe there's something we're not thinking of, as like, let us know in the comments as a consumer, like, or people who like Control paddles, what would be something in a Control paddle that would entice you to spend more money?
Yeah.
Like,
Over the current options.
over current options, like what's something new that you would like to see in a Control paddle? They'd be like, oh, I'd spend, more than $100 for that.
Yeah.
Because
Or even 150.
Or yeah, 150. Like because I struggle to find reasons at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of reasons to buy power paddles for that price because there's just isn't that many options.
Yeah.
And so that's naturally going to raise the price of those.
For sure. Okay. That is good. And then there's just some miscellaneous things I'll run through real quick. So handles, we already kind of talked about that with like the Ripple. There's kind of this, I don't think, like, look, do I prefer hard pellets? Yes. Am I going to like stand on a hill and die that like foam can never be a thing? No, I don't care that much because there are some foam pallets that are like, fine. I don't notice it. I don't really care. But I think hard ones would be better. However, what I'd like to stop seeing is us regressing with paddles like the Valère and the Rhombus. Like, let's not go backwards.
Yeah, could you imagine? So somebody releases a paddle for $200 and it has exposed polymer and
super foam handle,
or just like oval pallet grips.
gosh,
is like
that'd be
go back to really old handles.
No, let's not do
Gosh,
that.
would be so bad. Like you said, you won't die on this hill. I will. I'll die. I know handles are so subjective. Some people may like foam pallets. Not everyone wants a hard pallet, or not everyone wants really sharp bevels or defined bevels. Shouldn't say sharp, but I just personally, I think the majority of the market agrees that it's better and likes that. And I will die on that hill. I want a good handle.
I think, yeah. I do think handles should be good. I just think there are some foam handles that can be good, and then there's some that are just terrible.
And I know Justin will die on this hill with me, so I'm not alone up here.
We'll crucify you guys up there. Okay, next up, shapes. This, I think, has been headed in a great direction.
Yes.
More companies are adopting the 3-shape structure, wide body, hybrid, elongated. I'd love to see that.
Same.
I think it's going to keep going that way. I think it's been a really good trend. I think hybrid
makes it so much easier recommending certain brands and paddles now, being able to
more swing weight options for people. Like, oh, hey, you're looking for this style of paddle? Well, if a company has all their lineups with these 3 paddles, it's very easy for me to go, okay, you need a low swing weight like poppy paddle, boom, this one. Whereas in the past, it was like, oh, you want the poppy paddle? Elongated, that's it.
Yeah. Or like, this is just the first one that comes to mind. Back when I played with the Filth, people would want to hit it, and I'd let them hit it, and they say, oh, I like this, but it's a little heavy, or I don't like the shape. Well, now you can hit the same paddle, different shapes. It's just more brands are doing that, having the same paddle and more shape options, and it's just so much easier to recommend paddles now.
Totally.
Like, that's a big reason why Vatic is so easy to recommend. They have good options in different types of paddles, and then there's every shape option you could want from Vatic. And so, yeah, and it's simple. It's very simple. And so I like that.
Totally. Next up, surfaces. So, we've seen surfaces be kind of trendy in and out. Kevlar was kind of a hot thing for a while. Polyester still kind of is. It's like in and out a little bit.
I still like it.
But carbon fiber definitely continues to dominate the rest of the market. And I think the observation I've made in recent times is that it's less about what is the material on top, and it's what are the face angles that these are all laid up in? How many layers is it? What is the order of the layers, right? Yeah, cool, you could have polyester on top, but if you have fiberglass right beneath that, 2 fiberglass beneath that, that's very different from 2 carbon fiber beneath it. So it's a lot less important about oh, cool, guys, the top surface is Kevlar, and knowing what the whole build is informs you a lot more. And I think, there was a paddle recently, prototype we were hitting that we can't talk about, but a lot of us thought it had fiberglass in it, and then we were told there is 0 fiberglass in it. But there are ways to manipulate face layers clearly to change the feel in a lot of different ways. So I think it's a little less important of hey, this one's got Kevlar. I think that could still influence things, but I think we don't need to focus so much on oh, what's the top layer? It's what's the whole build?
Yeah, that matters way more.
Totally. And then last thing was just the testing. I think it's in a better spot than it's been. I think PB Core is still confusing to some people, but they've got more machines. Factories have some machines, so testing can be done and replicated. And I think it's in a slightly healthier state, but there's probably still a lot of question marks on why does this happen sometimes? Why does that type of build?
This is definitely John's topic. We're not experts by any means. I don't know everything there is about PB Core, but I do know it's not perfect.
We should have phoned John in for this.
We should have just called John real quick.
Give us the state of Q Core.
Should we just randomly call John, throw him on the mic? That'd actually be kind of funny.
That would be really funny if we called him. He's probably with his ball cannon right now.
Actually, that would be really funny if he's down there with shooting.
John, give me your 30-minute synopsis of Q Core right now.
Oh, that'd be funny. But yeah, so I still think there's issues with PB Core. I don't think it's perfect yet. I think we have better testing now than we did 6 months ago or 8 months ago. But I'd like to still see more improvements on testing with UPA, USAP. It can get better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the one, like I said before, I'm excited for is the spin test when we don't have to worry about grit anymore. It just feels weird to me when I get a really gritty paddle in the mail that I'm 99.99999% sure is illegal grit, because I'm okay, did the company send me this one on purpose like that? Was it what everyone else is going to get? And it's okay, well, this is illegal, so that's hard to recommend, but it's in the market, and USAP didn't do their job, so and people can buy it and use it, so whose fault is this really? I would love to stop thinking about those things.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the spin test.
Yep.
But yeah, that's our analysis of the market right now, guys. Yeah, that was a lot. In fact,
That was a lot.
I'm just gonna skip the kitchen this week, and we'll save it for next week because I think this is probably already a long pod, and we don't need to make it longer.
We'll get to your broken back later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
And my
day.
broken body another week.
For sure. So, yeah, let us know what you guys think. If there's any trends or things that you want to see, or maybe we forgot to cover, let us know down in the comments. But thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Later.